Good day, everybody. We are going to do 3 more tips for Google Meet because the software is pretty good. And the more you use it in different ways, apart from just having an online meeting, the more interesting it actually gets. So let's get started. Efficiently use the Google Meet links. There are several ways to create those links. The very first one is to just start a Google meeting, and that will generate an automatic link that you can then send to all the participants that are going to join in. Now, everybody has done that 1,000 times by now. So let's have a look at some more advanced options. The second option that usually comes to mind is how to use the calendar, and this is what we will concentrate on. So I have my calendar here on the screen. I'm going to create a lesson which is going to happen on Saturdays. Let's call it a test lesson. I'm going to add a time to it, 12:30 to 1:30. Great. And we are going to go into more options, and we will do what we want, which is to add a Hangout Meet link to it, so that every single participant, every single guest that you type in, it can be a person, it can be a school, can have access automatically to that link. And if you want to, you can copy and send it by email, but here is the link for you to use for that class. Now the problem is, if you have that class every single week, do you really need to invest all that time in order to generate a new link for every single lesson? The answer is no. And the trick to this is to repeat your, for example, lesson in this case. So I will repeat on Saturday. So every single Saturday at this time I'm going to have a lesson, which is quite normal because that is the weekly schedule that everybody usually uses. Now, the good thing is that once you save this and you have a look at your test lesson, which is going to repeat from this Saturday to eternity, you will see that it has this Hangout meeting link. And the good thing is that no matter what week you are looking at, the link is going to be exactly the same. So you can see that all those letters here, a Hangout Meet link usually consists of 3 letters dash 4 letters dash 3 letters. That link is going to stay there forever, which means that you can either tell people to just use this link every single week, or you can copy it and you can go to your Google Classroom, for example, click on share something with the class and say that this is the link that you have to follow. You add this link as a link, and that I'm going to paste what I have copied from the calendar, add a link to it. Google Classroom is smart enough to understand that this is a class video meeting. I'm going to pause that, and this is this is going to look like a big button that everybody has to press in order to join the class video meeting. Actually, Google has even rolled out a newer, easier way to do that. Now, if you are using Google Classroom, you don't have to go through the calendar in order to generate a link. If you have, well, I have a test class here in my Google Classroom, I can go to Settings by pressing this gear icon, and down there in Settings, there is a Google Meet control. I already have a link generated. If you don't have it, just click on Generate New Google Meet Link. And this link is going to be the only link that people need in order to go into that classroom at any time, which means that you can use it at the beginning of every single lesson. Students can use it in order to join the lesson. You can make it visible to the students to make it easier, Once you save this, that link is going to appear right next to, if I go back to my test class here, I can see that this link is going to appear right under the class code, which means that you have a class code that the students can use in order to join this class, and you have a Meet link, which is a permanent link that can be used in order to join that specific class at any time. Simple and efficient. The second tip for today is not actually a technical tip. It's more of a couple of considerations that you need to take into account when you are thinking about having an online meeting. And those are pretty important because of the fact that online meetings are not like regular meetings. In a regular meeting, you get a lot of body language from your participants. You can have a look at you can see if they are interested just by looking at them. They don't even need to say anything. You can see if they are bored. You can see if they understand what you're saying. You can see if they are about to ask a question, and so on and so forth. In other words, there is a lot of body language going on in a regular meeting or a classroom situation. But when you have an online meeting, that does not happen. Why not? Because you can barely see a face. Usually it's not a very high quality video either, so it is very difficult to actually understand what your audience feels about you presenting, or if they have a question, or if they are about to just, simulate that their connection went down and they just want to leave that meeting. So, with this said, what you need to do when you are creating an online meeting is to go into some very detailed planning. It actually helps a lot, first of all, to notify your participants as much as possible about what kind of a meeting this is going to be. If you will be the only one talking, please ask everybody to come into the meeting with their microphones muted, and you might even think about pre-recording your speech so that you don't have to do that online in real time. Second thing is try to, as much as possible, steer the meeting by announcing what is going to happen beforehand. For example, if you are looking at a roundtable discussion, you might want to agree as to what is going to happen if somebody wants to say something. I don't know, raise their hand or use one of those emoticons plugins. But there's got to be some kind of logic how you want the participants to be involved. And third, of course, when you do this online meeting, you need to get the agenda straight as much as possible so that, first of all, everybody knows what the meeting is about. Secondly, gets prepared for it. Third, you will want to avoid all of those, awkward moments when you are like, well, does anybody have any questions? And you do expect questions because you want some additional information that you are going to give to the participants via questions, but everybody just keeps quiet and that's it, and you don't get any feedback from your audience whatsoever. The last thing, which is also pretty important in those cases, is that please try to avoid to use external documentation that people will have to go and have a look at, therefore interrupting the meeting. I will give you an example. You want all the meeting participants to look at the web page, and that will create pure chaos because you are going to lose the audience. They are going to go to another tab. They will try to figure out how is it that they got the link, either by Google Classrooms or by email. They will go to that web page. They will basically leave the conference. And the question is, are they going to come back? People will have problems accessing it, people will have problems finding the link, people will stop participating in the conference because they're going to switch a tab or a window and go to a website just to have a look at it. So try to present as much as possible yourself. Share share an application, share your screen. Do not let the participants disappear by switching a program, window, or a tab. It's as simple as possible. As the last food for thought, I have two small tricks that you can do in Google Meet that I'm not really sure technically they are very not that complicated, but the implications for you using Google Meet could be quite interesting. The very first one is what I would call the gold mode. Let's say you have a class and your students have to talk to each other, let's say in French, and what you would like to do is to supervise them talking. Now the question is, why would they want to see you? Of course you can turn off the microphone, but let's do it even further. Let's turn off the microphone and let's turn off the video feed. So what we have ended up with is a mode where you can supervise the students, for example, talking to each other in a foreign language, or reciting something, or presenting something, but you do remove this unneeded video of you looking at them, therefore making it easier for them to present and, you know, like less awkward for everybody. So this is kind of a gold mode where you can just observe what is going on in the classroom. You can turn on the microphone if needed, or you can just comment using the chat window. And the students don't really need to see you all the time. You can let them be the center of the stage. So this is a very simple thing, which you might want to use in the classroom if you ever want to allow your students to present in a slightly more independent way, but still retain control over what is going on in your classroom. Finally, there is one more thing that could be interesting, which is if I would turn off the camera, but instead I would turn on the captions, for example. Captions are an automatic way to display whatever you want to say. So your voice is getting translated into text that the students will see, which means that what you can do, you can present everything you want in a text format without the students having to listen very carefully to what you are saying. The technology works pretty well. It even understands my English, which says a lot. I don't really know what the implications could be. It could be a transcript of a class, a lecture that you are presenting, a conversation that you are having with the students, or something else. There might be thousands of different innovative ways to use this technique. All I want to emphasize is that it works really nicely. And it even understands my English. So all you need to do is to turn on the captions to have an automatic helper that will translate everything that you are saying into a text format. Well, with this said, this is all for today. Thank you for watching, and comments are always welcome. Have a nice day. Bye.